It's Monday Night Sports Talk on the airnetwork.net. Welcome in to, of course, the end of March. And, of course, March Madness. Final Four has been selected. Frozen Four, what a surprise there. We've got some news on football. Also basketball, hockey, and more. All coming up tonight live here on the airnetwork.net. Greg Banks in the studio. Dave Shannon joining us from Altoona, Pennsylvania. And Jimmy Ty from down around the Philadelphia area, Hamburg, Pennsylvania. Hey, Jimmy, I wanted to tell you, I met a doctor today. The guy is a heart specialist who said he went to Mansfield State, and then he matriculated to a medical school in Philadelphia. He says, well, you know, he was there in the day of Iverson. He says, but nothing good has happened in Philadelphia since Iverson left. And I just wanted to say that because think about it. The Phillies haven't done anything. The Sixers haven't done anything. The Eagles certainly haven't done anything. And the Bullies on Broad Street, the Flyers, haven't done anything. So to which I said, hey, well, listen, you see my hat? I'm wearing a Steelers hat. You know where my loyalty is. You're not loyal to Philadelphia, are you?
No way.
Okay. I know you're Western Pennsylvania.
I live down in Eastern Pennsylvania, down
right
here in Berks County.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody down here is all Flyers and Eagles. And, in fact, I went to the Reading Royals game with my daughter, and the guy sitting in back of me is all bashing the Pens and Sidney Crosby and saying how he's a whiner. And I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking to myself, only if the guy knew, if I would turn around and I would show him I'm wearing a Penn shirt.
Yeah.
You know? But, yeah, it's all Philadelphia down here. But I'm pure Pittsburgh sports.
And that's good to know. And, hey, Dave, how would you have reacted if somebody was bashing your Penguins right there, and especially Sid the Kid? How did you handle that as a man of more maturity than, say, Jimmy Ty?
If I would have been there with a Pens jersey of any kind on, I would have stood up and turned around and said, you want to keep going, buddy, or are you done now?
Yeah. You know how you end those conversations? How many championships have you won lately? That's all you got to say.
But I was with my daughter, and I didn't want to cause any problems.
Yeah, and that's best. Yeah.
Like, you know what, Lucy? Let's just keep watching the hockey game and just let these bozos back here talk about the Pens. And,
yeah.
And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, yep. When was the last time Philadelphia won a Stanley Cup?
Yeah, and last thing we certainly need is violence at a minor league hockey game with you and your daughter as spectators, man.
I was going to say it's not unusual you have violence in a minor league hockey game,
but on the ice.
Yeah.
You know.
Or no, in the stands.
In the stands too.
I mean, we all got to remember Slapshot. So.
Oh, that's true too, and we should not forget it's the 40th anniversary of Slapshot this year, so that's a cool thing. Speaking of anniversaries, I had to think the other day. Couple of the teams that we've never seen at the Final Four for the last few years, and I don't think we'll ever see them again. This is the anniversary of the time when his name was Shaka Smart, was coaching this very little-known team, VCU, I believe they're called, Jimmy, into
the VCU Rams.
The Final Four, and I think it was just a couple years ago. Think of some of those teams that, that have been there. They've gotten a sniff of it. And then as we move into the Final Four this weekend, interesting enough, there are 3 teams I'm not even familiar with, but one of the teams, obviously, we're familiar with. North Carolina's been there. Gonzaga has never been there before. South Carolina Gamecocks, they've not been there. However, Oregon did win the championship way back in 1939. Dave, let's talk about the Final Four. First of all, let's talk about the Elite Eight. Tell me a little bit about the games that you watched, some of the surprises. And I know my bracket's been blown for over a week. How about you?
Well, I was completely bummed out when Oregon squeaked by my Wolverines. And I hate to say my Wolverines because that would tend to indicate that I care about anything else that Michigan does as a university sports-wise, and I don't. But I did like their story. I liked the way they were playing. They continue to play well. They did not quite have the three-point shooting going for them against Oregon that they did, prior to that.
Yeah.
And that led to a 1-point loss of all things. So that was my final blow-up to my bracket was when, they lost to Oregon 69-68. I thought another outstanding game was Wisconsin-Florida.
Oh, yeah.
And I really felt bad for the Badgers. It was for them to tie it at the end And then to lose it on a similar play
Mm-hmm.
at the end of overtime, 84-83. That was a nice battle by Wisconsin and an unfortunate loss for them. South Carolina caught me by surprise.
Oh, me too.
You know, all the teams we talked about here on Monday Night Sports Talk, they were never really one of the ones in contention. Now, there is one I want to point out, and I don't know, was that you, Jimmy, you were on the Xavier bandwagon, or was that Chad last week?
Chad.
Yeah, it was Chad.
Chad.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, he liked them.
Yeah, Chad got on that Xavier bandwagon, and it was like, you know what? That's a team that I knew that they were there, and I knew they were having a.
They were a sleeper, actually. Yeah.
Brought their season to an end.
Yeah, we're losing Dave.
An 80.
Yeah, we're losing Dave for some reason. I don't know if our connection's going bad or not. But, Jimmy, when you were watching some of the Elite Eight games, what are the games that stuck out in your mind?
Oh, wow. First off, I'm going to say that Oregon, the Oregon-Kansas game, that stuck out. That was a game where I thought Kansas was gonna win, but Oregon came in and just did their thing. Oregon's a good basketball team.
Yeah.
They're a really good basketball team. But the one game I was really, really focusing on was the Kentucky-North Carolina game.
Yeah, that was the major game to watch.
North Carolina, prime time, 7:00. Malik Monk came and the Wildcats were down by 12 or 10 points. Malik Monk comes back, ties it up at 73 all. And an unknown guy, who was a walk-on, wins it with 0.3 on the clock. It was just crazy. That was the game I was watching all weekend. I was excited for North Carolina, Kentucky, because they are two storied franchises.
By the way,
you're back.
Hear me again?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yep.
Yeah, I had a problem with my USB connection. We should be good now.
We're good.
The last thing that I wanted to say when I was doing my Elite Eight, leading up to the Final Four,
right?
And you guys, maybe you remember this, maybe you don't. But I kept telling everybody from the time the brackets came out that Kansas was not going to make it.
Okay.
I kept saying that from day one. Mm-hmm. And it finally came to be when Oregon got that big victory. I think Michigan, if Michigan had beat Oregon, I think they would have beaten Kansas then in the Elite Eight game to get to the Final Four.
Yeah.
I mentioned that last week. I remember the game. It was Kansas and Duke.
Yeah.
And they just looked, and at that point, Kansas was, way higher in the standings than what Duke was, like 15th in the nation, and Kansas was either 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm sorry, I do not see a national championship team there, and it finally came to be there when Oregon handed them a 14-point loss. I mean, that's pretty outstanding to lose by 14 when you were the number one seed coming in and what some would have considered the number one seed overall. And I was always on Gonzaga's bandwagon. I think that's one of those, Greg, you've talked about this a lot during the shows. And it doesn't matter whether it's NCAA football or baseball or maybe even hockey or basketball, that we're on the East Coast.
Right.
We don't get to see those teams all that often.
Right.
But
I don't see UCLA. I don't see Arizona. I certainly don't see Gonzaga. And very few Xavier games did I see this past season. So that came as a shocker. Not really a shocker to me that Gonzaga was in the hunt because, let's face it, guys, think about the last 20 years. I mean, they've made it to the Elite Eight. They're always in that round of surprises. And I don't know, probably the best way to put it is they were well overdue. Finally. And I'm tipping the hat to the coaching staff and, of course, the administration at Gonzaga because they, at one time, were like Butler, little-known schools that made a lot of noise. And then, as the years progress, we almost expect that they'll be in the hunt, at least in the top 16 teams when it's all said and done. And here they are
Yeah.
now in the Final Four. You got the Zags, you got the Gamecocks, you got the Ducks, and now you got the Tar Heels. And Jimmy, I got to say this. There's a computer simulation prediction going around that is basically saying that North Carolina wins it all. That's according to Vegas. And we know they've not always been right, but they pegged the Tar Heels as the favorite to win the tournament title next week over Gonzaga, Oregon, and South Carolina. Matter of fact, one of their players last night, who was a hero, Luke Mays, I believe his name was, or May, he actually went to his 8 o'clock class this morning after that terrific game. You know, that's incredible because UNC, again, Dave, you remember they were, there was a time when their football team was penalized because guys weren't even going to class at UNC.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the student athlete.
That is
in him. That's
the epitome.
That's what college athletics is all about.
It's all about. I agree.
College athletics, in my opinion, it isn't about a player like Lonzo Ball,
Right.
from
Oh, yeah.
UCLA, who wants to play basketball, doesn't
Right.
care about schoolwork. He was on, UCLA lost.
And we'll talk about that in a minute. But
Hold on. Lonzo Ball was on national television,
Right.
with his father when he could have been in class.
Yes, he could have
Or
been.
This Luke May won a game. They came back from Memphis.
Yep.
He's in an 8 o'clock business class. That's the
and
student
he's there.
athlete.
Yeah, and you know what?
That's what college is all about.
And you can tell that Coach Williams has his team, the mindset is student athlete. Now, let's talk a little bit about Kentucky. You know, I was kind of surprised to see Kentucky at least in the Elite Eight. I thought that they would have bailed before then. But I felt so bad, and maybe Jimmy or Dave, you could talk about this. I felt so bad for their players in the end. I mean, those guys were sobbing their eyes out as if they had lost, maybe their Pee Wee football championship. It meant the world to them, which indicates to me, and maybe I'm wrong, those kids weren't even interested in being one and done. They really wanted to go on and win a championship for their coach.
When you sign up to play for the University of Kentucky, everybody knows that these players are one and done.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They are all one and done players. Now, for Kentucky, they know that is their last game. It's Malik Monk's last game. It's De'Aaron Fox's last game.
Right.
They wanted to do this for Coach Cal. They wanted to do this for Big Blue Nation. They're not going to be able to do that next year because them agents going to start calling them.
Yeah.
This is their last hoorah with each other, playing from the time they were in high school to now. Yeah, it really sunk with them.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. And, Dave, that's interesting when you see that kind of emotion left out on the court at the end of a game anymore, because we'll make the sort of like comparison to ball in a minute. But, Dave, the emotions that these guys got caught in, it seemed to be real.
Oh, it definitely was real. And I think Jimmy pretty much summarized that, the way you can. And there's that, they're always a team, okay? It is a team. It's a group of guys. It's a band of brothers.
Yeah.
It's whatever you want to call them. And when you realize that was your last chance, and you probably had expectations in your own mind because of the way your season had been going, that you were going to make it to that big game. And then it's all ripped away from you, and you realize that's the last time I'm on the court with these guys. And if, when you're really a team and you're playing together as a band of brothers, it's tough on you. No doubt about it. And they obviously showed that.
Well, conversely, though, those lesser-known teams, those guys left it all out on the court, too. But there's hope for them. You know what I mean? For some of the schools that we saw involved in the tournament this year, some of the lesser-known teams, there's hope that they'll make it back there perhaps in the next few years. Gonzaga, we know, did it for many years. UNC, I think this is their, 20th time they've appeared in the Final Four over the years. It's incredible. Oregon's got to be feeling good about themselves and their chances. And then you have, who saw South Carolina coming, Jimmy? I mean, were you following any of those
South
guys?
Carolina was a good team. They had the SEC Player of the Year.
Okay.
They started out strong in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
But then, like in every college basketball season, you're going to stumble, and they did stumble towards the end of the season, but they did do well in the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
So for ones who really follow the SEC and college basketball that closely, yeah, people saw this coming.
Right.
But if you look at what they had to go through,
yeah,
Marquette, Baylor, Florida, it was nobody really saw that. People who saw maybe they would get by Marquette, but then lose to Baylor.
Well, let me ask you this:
at the time was ranked like 4th or 5th in the country.
Okay, coming up Saturday, by the way, how are they going to be feeling when they take on Gonzaga, though? Seriously, I know it's going to be an upward climb, and but here you are, you're a Gamecock, and you're going to take on a Zag, and Gonzaga has not gotten to the finals in a long time. I don't think they've ever been there. So, but they've got the experience, and they've got the ball players too. Man, they have so many tangibles, Dave. What do the Gamecocks have to do, man, to beat down a team that is experienced like Gonzaga?
It's going to get down to, and this has been one of the, I will say this, for the most part, I think it's been a strange tournament, because it's one where normally you can say that, defense, is going to be a major factor in these games. And I'll tell you what, offense has really been the primary factor, I think, in every game. Even in the games where the scoring was low, it wasn't low because the defense was good. It was low because of, I think, the big stage and a lot of poor shot selection was made by the players. I mean, I saw guys taking, you get the ball down the court, you get it over the timeline, you still have 18 seconds left on the shot clock, and a guy out there at the three-point stripe decides it's time to shoot. It's like, what the hell is going through your mind? It's especially at this point in the season, at this level. My attitude is always, you know what? Yeah, okay, if you're really hot, you go ahead and do it. And there were a lot of guys, and there were a lot of girls too. I watched last night. What was it? Southern Miss that beat Baylor in women's basketball. And that girl from Southern Miss was just unbelievable. But the bottom line is, I think it's been more offense that's been the key to what's been going on. And when it is that way, it kind of gets you to the point where, every game's up in the air when it's that way. When offense is dictating the play, which it seems to have been here in the tournament so far, it's anybody's game. You come out and if you got 3 perimeter shooters that are really hot in a game, you're in it. I don't care if you're, an 11 seed taking on a 2 seed.
Yeah, hence the saying, on any given night. And here's the game, North Carolina, Kentucky. All right. Here's what boggles my mind. It's tied up, I think it was 73-73. Nobody calls timeout. And North Carolina gets the ball back, and they score to win that game 75-73. Let me kind of ask both of you guys, I know Coach Williams has to be feeling it now because he had time to get that last timeout. Jimmy, what happened? I mean, was he not thinking, or maybe he could have... in his press conference
Calipari,
today,
he said in his press conference today that he was going to call the timeout, but the ref was too far away from him.
Wow.
Where the referee was.
Yeah.
It was too far away from him. So by the time Calipari ran up there to call the timeout,
it was too late.
North Carolina inbounded the ball right away.
Yeah.
So Calipari wanted the timeout, but he couldn't get to the timeout because the ref was too far away, and North Carolina inbounded it right away. That's very smart play.
That's very smart play.
Roy Williams.
Yeah, and
now, does that point out something here? A question for both of you guys from me would be, does the NCAA need to change the rules? There are a lot of things that change in the way the game gets played once you get under 1 minute left to go in the game. For example, the clock goes off automatically when the ball goes after a made shot.
Right.
The clock goes off. That does not happen any other time during the game. There are other things that happen under the 1 minute mark left to go in the game. Should there be a provision that says, as in this particular case, that you have 3 referees on the court? Should 2 of the referees be somewhere near
the coaches,
both teams' benches, in case they want to call a timeout at that point?
See, and I don't recall where that ball was taken out at, if it was even, maybe on one of the ends, Jimmy, or if it was close to the sidelines. It was underneath the basket, and I could see where Calipari would have to run down the court or at least get the attention of one of those referees in one of those zones, and he just didn't have the time because I believe there are 2 refs in that area and 1 ref down at the other end of the court. I think at that period of time, Dave, and I don't know if we have so many rules already. Hey, here's a good example. Officiating, Jimmy. I saw guys traveling with the ball. It was incredible all weekend long. I'm seeing it basically all the time in the NBA. But now, for that to transform into college ball at pivotal times like the national championships, there's already a problem with the officiating of the ball games. And what I want, they're not catching those.
What they'll do, like, I knew, like, the one play in that Kentucky-North Carolina game, the Carolina fans who are listening aren't going to agree with me on this.
Okay.
But
that one Carolina
Kentucky
fan that's listening right now, Jack, I think his name is Jake. Jake, listen up.
Kentucky scored the ball. It was like late in the game. Kentucky scores.
Yeah.
North Carolina throws the ball full court the whole way down.
I remember that.
That Luke May caught the ball.
Mm-hmm.
The Kentucky player went over to block the shot.
To block the shot.
May scored the basket,
He
but if
pivots.
you watch his feet,
Yes.
he shuffled his feet. He moved his pivot foot.
Yes, he
to get
did.
a better position.
Right.
That should have been called traveling, but the referee missed that.
Now, that was a 2-pointer because if I remember.
That was a 2-pointer, and that would have been huge towards the end of the game.
Yes,
I'm not a Kentucky fan. I'm not a North Carolina fan. I'm a Pitt Panther fan. And, yes, my Panthers suck this year.
Well, here's the reality, Dave. In games like that, as Jimmy mentioned, that particular play, the thing is, you could see why he pivoted his foot because he actually was trying for a 3, but he kind of stumbled into a 2 across the line, and that was enough to win the ball game. But Jimmy, I blatantly saw people carrying the ball and, just walking all over the court towards the basket. There was a basketball game last week where a guy actually stuck his hand in the cylinder and nobody even called that goaltending.
Northwestern Gonzaga game.
Do you remember that game? I'm like, dude.
Northwestern Gonzaga.
And they say that you can't.
Stuck his hand in the basket.
Yep. And they say.
It through to the basket.
Well, there must be a portion of the game where you can't review plays, Dave. I mean, there must be something within the last 2 minutes where that's not a reviewable play, they said. When it was obvious to the national audience and the people in the arena.
Yeah, I don't know how that, because I saw them stop the game in the middle of the game and review some things. And,
right.
I think goaltending is probably, if you want to get to that point and there's, if you're getting enough flack from a coach, it's, and coaches overreact to everything. And it's like kind of still the referee's judgment. But if you're getting enough heat from people saying that, that was a goaltend, then, maybe it's time to go ahead, stop the clock, go over, take a look at it. Because I'll tell you what, you just can't see everything because what you're looking at as an official, especially on a play inside, you're looking to see if one of the guys that has the basketball steps on the end line. You're trying to see if one of the guys is maybe fouling a guy, and then the outside referee has to be watching for, well, what if the shot's missed and now I got a fast break that I got to peel back and keep an eye on going the other way. So that's maybe what I think that is one that should be added. Here's the thing, though, Greg. You can complain about the traveling all you want, and maybe you're noticing it here at the end of the season. It's that way all year long. They do not enforce traveling in the NCAA anymore. That's just something that they got away from, and you can get away with a lot in the NCAA based on, and certainly back when you and I were growing up. Greg, the things that are going on now would never have been allowed to happen back then. And it's just, you're not going to change that.
They seriously aren't doing it in the NBA either. So anyhow, it's Monday Night Sports Talk here on the airnetwork.net. Greg Banks in the studio. Dave Shannon live from Altoona and Jimmy Ty near Hamburg in Philadelphia. All right, Final Four coming up this Saturday and Sunday. And I tried to let you guys know that'll be happening in Phoenix. So we've got the game on the 1st between South Carolina and Gonzaga. And then also later that evening at 8:49, because the early game is 6:09, 8:49 Oregon versus North Carolina. How do you guys see that playing out, Dave? First of all, the first game, South Carolina versus Gonzaga. Is that going to be a beatdown?
I'm going to be one of those silly people that roots for the underdog, and I bet
South Carolina.
South Carolina is going to be beaten, but I'm going to root for South Carolina. So I'm going to say South Carolina, the Gamecocks, Cocky and the Gamecocks make it through that game.
All right, Jimmy, how do you see that game anyhow with the Gamecocks and the Zags? I don't know. What the hell is a Zag? Hit me to what is a Zag?
That's part of the name of the team, and they just like siphoned it out. It's a syllable.
All right.
It's a syllable that they use. They do have a bulldog.
Yeah, I saw the bulldog, but it'd be nice if you just called them the Gonzaga Bulldogs. You know, I know Butler's the Bulldogs. There's a bunch of Bulldogs, you know. But, Jimmy, how do you see that Gamecocks-Zags game going down on Saturday?
I love Cox. I love the Cox. I love them going against Gonzaga.
Wait a second. Why do you have to continue to abbreviate an abbreviation? They're the fighting Gamecocks.
See, like, their shirts?
I saw them. I know. Yeah, okay.
All
right. And the mascot is his official name is Cocky.
Cocky. Is it Cocky?
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
Carolina.
Cocky.
Good roll.
The hip is cock on the block. Okay. All right. So now we got that out of the way.
Good roll.
Yeah. Is he a fighting cock?
Momentum up.
Okay.
Gonzaga is due for another loss, so I'm going to say South Carolina over the number 1 seed, Gonzaga Bulldogs.
Now, I'm going to ask you to substantiate that. Why do you think the Gamecocks could beat the Zags? More speed? The offense? I mean, they have guys that can hit from the outside as opposed to some of the big guys inside for the Zags. What is it?
Because it's like
they
David
got Will.
with Goliath. Nobody thought South Carolina could even be there.
All right. Well, I got to admit.
Everybody thought Gonzaga would be there.
Hey, Dave, how often do you watch SEC basketball? Seriously, either one of you, Dave first and then Jimmy. How often do you actually watch SEC basketball?
No, I watch the, we get fed the ACC whether we want to see it or not.
That's true, too.
Yeah. So it's like my basketball is ACC, Big Ten, and occasional Big East game. And then Big 12, too, because of West Virginia trying to follow the Mountaineers.
That's true, too. So anyhow, Dave and Jimmy both have South Carolina upsetting the Zags coming up Saturday in the Final Fours. Let's move to that late game, Oregon versus North Carolina. The Tar Heels, the other number 1 seed remaining. Gonzaga was number 1 seed in their division or region. North Carolina, number 1, against number 3 Oregon Ducks. Jimmy, how do you see that one playing out?
Experience will win over Oregon.
Tar Heels.
North Carolina, they have something to prove from last year.
Okay. All right. So Jimmy says North Carolina.
It's going to be an all-Carolina championship
Wouldn't that be? I never thought of that. Dave, what do you think in that Oregon-North Carolina game?
I'm going with UNC. I mean, I think they got a little bit of a wake-up call there, too,
in
the game against Kentucky.
It was a close one.
Believe me, they're going to be ready for the Ducks come Saturday night, so I'm going with UNC, too.
I'm just interested in seeing what colorful clothing the Ducks wear on Saturday in that game. I mean, the guy from Adidas, man, he must be shelling out all kinds of cash to those kids down there to wear those lucrative and those exciting-looking colors. Now, Baylor is starting to look that same way, too. You notice that, Jimmy? They have that fluorescent yellow, and it's like you can glow-in-the-dark basketball players, which probably distracts you when you're playing somebody or defending them. But let me ask you this, guys, as we move forward here on Monday Night Sports Talk. Chad States, by the way, beginning baseball season with his Teener League team, so he couldn't make it tonight. We hope that he joins us next week. Archie Miller gets that job in Indiana. Now, we all said last week that Steve Alford was a shoo-in to get that job, okay? Tom Crenn, of course, got fired. Indiana had a job opening. Obviously, you would think that Alford would have got first pick, Dave. I'm not even sure that he was even a candidate there. But here, we've got now Sean Miller's brother, Archie Miller, from Dayton, coming in to take over the Hoosiers. What do you think of that hire?
Boy, there's some interesting things going on there, and they're certainly out of the realm of what we were talking about and what we thought would
everybody had Alford taking that job, man. I think Chad was the one that was most adamant about that.
No, well, hey, doesn't that make all the sense in the world? The guy's going back home.
Yeah, but I mean, UCLA is a pretty good program. Indiana's suffering.
But still, it's Indiana. I mean, you're a bigger god in Bloomington
Yeah.
as the head coach than you're ever going to be at UCLA. And you know what? You
In
got
Westwood.
the pressure.
Yeah.
You got the John
Oh,
Wooden
that's true,
pressure
too.
out at UCLA that you don't have. You know, it's like, okay, you're
Well-
living up to Bobby Knight if you're the
Yeah.
head coach. Or being
And you can outlive his legacy because all you have to do is throw one chair and you're pretty much right in there.
Yeah. So, no, it made all the sense in the world, but that's not what happened.
No.
You know, it just goes to show that these kinds of decisions, common sense does not apply.
Jimmy, this is an uphill climb for Archie Miller, man. Let's face it, he's with Dayton. They've never won any kind of championship, to the best of my knowledge. What league is Dayton in? Are they in the MAC or
Atlantic
SWAC?
10.
What is it?
The Atlantic 10.
The
same
Atlantic
conference as
10.
Duquesne.
Oh, there you go.
The A10.
The
old
A10.
conference that
That's
Penn
right.
State
Penn
was in.
State was in the A10 years ago. So let's talk about that a moment, Jimmy. Here you have Archie, who is coming in. Now, we even thought, and I threw out Sean's name to take over the Pitt job at one time, which you knew that wasn't going to happen. I mean, he's in a
Yeah.
great place with Arizona, although those folks in Arizona are kind of pissed today because they came up short again in the Elite Eight. But now you've got Archie Miller, who probably doesn't have the best resume, but he's got that last name. Is that why you bring him into Indiana? And how does he
got the pedigree
recruit?
with his like you said, Greg, with his name, the Miller. You know, brother coach. for
Brother,
Xavier,
father was a
brother
big coach.
with Arizona.
Yeah.
You know, his father was is a big time high school coach back in Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh.
area.
Mohawk, wasn't it, I think, for years, one of those schools
Yeah.
out there? Yeah.
Yeah, so he has the name, and that's all it is. But if Steve Alford, that was stupid for him not to take, or even to get.
Do we know that
interviewed.
do we know
We
that
don't
he
even
turned
know,
that
but
down? Yeah.
Steve Alford, like Dave said, Indiana is basketball heaven.
Yeah.
You get lost in the shuffle in Los Angeles.
That's true. Yeah.
no doubt.
Westwood, man.
You have the
Hollywood.
John Wooden pressure.
Yeah.
Now you have the LeVar Ball pressure.
Oh my God! I'm thinking that. Hey, listen, that would have been enough for me if I were Steve Alford to want to get out from underneath
I
that.
left once. I
Yeah.
would have left and said, you know what? Another guy can go coach LaMelo, Libido, with Alonzo, whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah, would you-
go coach dumb kids?
Well, let me ask you this now: will Alford stay at UCLA if he? Well, I mean, he is going to stay there. Is he going to recruit those other ball boys? You think he's going to want to put up with that? Seriously? I mean, they're good
He
ball
already
players.
recruited them. They already accepted.
Oh, see, there you go. That's why he's staying then. He's not going to get them to come to Indiana, but he can keep them out in Westwood, out in Hollywood. But there again is Archie Miller. Now, let me ask you guys this. Alford decides to stay. We talked a little bit about the officiating and the traveling and all this stuff with the officiating. Dave, what do you see? And I got your idea on the Oregon-North Carolina game, South Carolina. Who wins all of this? I mean, obviously, if South Carolina plays North Carolina, they're pretty much dead ducks. Although they're not ducks, they're gamecocks. So
Yes.
your cocky is pretty dead. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, there's not even any Viagra that would help that out.
Come
but,
Monday night, you're out of business, man, in South Carolina. Pretty much.
Now, I just cannot see. It's a great story. You never know. I mean, I don't know how many people thought Villanova was going to win the national championship last year.
Exactly.
But assuming that somewhat of a sentimental favorite in South Carolina gets by Gonzaga, I'm going to have to stick with UNC. And even if the Zags beat the Gamecocks and move on, I think North Carolina beats Gonzaga too in a very exciting, outstanding national championship game.
All right, just to kind of wrap it up, Jimmy and Dave, did the folks that put together this bracket get it right this year? Or were there some games that perhaps we should have seen later on in the tournament that just never materialized? Obviously, Villanova was one of those shockers. But do you think they got it right this year, Jimmy?
And somewhat. There were some games I would like to see that would have been different, like Kansas, Michigan State in the second round.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I don't like that idea at all.
That was kind of early, yeah.
You had Kansas, Michigan State second round. Let's see what else we had that I can think on top of my head. You had Cincinnati versus USC. I mean,
Yeah.
UCLA.
Yep. You had That Gonzaga Northwestern game was pretty good. I know Notre Dame, West Virginia, that turned out the way I thought it would. Dave, do we need basketball people on that committee? Because that's one of my biggest problems. Those folks, they're administrators. I don't know if they're athletic directors, but for the most part, there are no real true basketball people that sit on that committee, and I think we're using too many analytics anymore.
I really agree with that, and I think you have to, when you set up the seedings, there's any number of factors that can go on, but if you just go ahead and you let the computer do all of the scheduling,
right?
You're going to end up with a little bit of a mess. You're gonna blow some, or if many of your better games way early in the brackets. Although it'd be hard to argue that did happen. There were some exciting games over the weekend.
Oh yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But bottom line is, I think you need to have somebody that has a feel for which computers don't. And that is, you have a feel for the way the team is playing toward the end of the season.
Man, just see Villanova get beat in the second round by Wisconsin. After beating Mount St. Mary's, come on. They only got to play Mount St. Mary's, and then Wisconsin comes up and smacks them. That was incredible.
Well, yeah, but I do think you need to have as many basketball people involved as possible, and that doesn't mean that you have to have people that are currently involved coaching or anything like that. What it means is there are people out there. Some are and some are. I'm thinking, and the reason I'm saying it is I'm thinking in my mind about the color analysts on TV. Some are good.
Oh, yeah.
And some are not. There are some guys that you would want out of the TV analysts to be a part of the selection committee and how the seedings go, because those guys live, eat, and breathe college basketball.
Hey, I would even take Sir Charles and put him on the, on that committee at this point. I'll give him at least that much credit. I'm not so sure I would want to put, let's say, Shaq on there. But there are some guys I would put Reggie Miller on there. I would like to see a Reggie Miller.
I would put Chris Webber. I would put Barkley on there.
At least maybe if, Dave, you're going to have 12 people, let's make at least 4 of them with some kind of basketball experience. I think that would make it exciting.
Yeah, Clark Kellogg.
There you go.
Those guys are out there, and they, like I said, they live, eat, and breathe it. So go ahead and take advantage of that, because they're going to be able to sit down and come up with some seedings. Yeah, they're going to have arguments about, where a team should be seated. But I think in the end, you'd end up with an across-the-board competitive bracket the whole way through.
And I say just try it once, if nothing else. Monday Night Sports Talk here on the airnetwork.net. Hey, listen, we've got baseball, also some basketball, hockey. In addition to that, we've got some great stuff coming up here with Jimmy Ty and Dave Shannon. Stick around. We're going to take a break real quick and be right back on Monday Night Sports Talk.
Brenneman's Meat Markets are celebrating nearly 70 years in providing Huntingdon County with quality USDA-approved processed pork, chicken, and beef products. Brenneman's has 2 locations in the county where the tradition of the finest meats are found in the region. Stop by Brenneman's Huntingdon weekdays from 8 to 6, Saturdays 8 to 3. Mount Union, open 9 to 5 weekdays and 9 to 2 on Saturdays. Choose specials of $10 to $50 meat packs containing your favorite meats, or stop by and ask about our select custom cuts, prepared and packaged while you wait. Brenneman's Meat Markets in Huntingdon and Mount Union. Call our office at 814-643-2751 for specials and more information.
Mel's Concrete in Huntingdon has over 20 years experience in providing you with quality concrete work. When you have any job dealing with concrete, call Mel Woomer at 643-0909. Mel's Concrete specializing in porches, patios, basements, sidewalks, and more. Mel's Concrete also specializes in snow removal. There's no job too big or too small when it comes to concrete. Call Mel's Concrete, LLC at 643-0909.
Pennsylvania Highlands Community College provides you the option to earn an associate degree, diploma, or certificate at an affordable cost. The Penn Highlands Huntington Center, located on Margie Drive in Huntington, offers degree programs in business management, criminal justice, liberal arts and sciences, and psychology. Are you ready to take the next step on your career path? Contact Penn Highlands Huntington at 814-643-6200 or visit Penn Highlands Community College online at pennhighlands.edu. It's a brand new year, so start it off right by shedding those pounds and living a healthy lifestyle. Call Dr. Michael Simone at Simone Family Chiropractic and Weight Loss at 613 Washington Street, downtown Huntington, for a proven safe way to shed those extra pounds. Dr. Simone utilizes the doctor-supervised Chiro Thin weight loss program that helps you lose significant weight without exercise, expensive prepackaged foods, or diet shakes. It's real food with real results. Try the Chiro Thin plan on your way to a healthier you by calling Dr. Simone for a free consultation. Call 643-2616 for a happier you.
It's Monday Night Sports Talk on the airnetwork.net. Greg Banks in the studio. Dave Shannon live from Altoona. Jimmy High from Hamburg, Pennsylvania. Dan around Philadelphia. Chad States, by the way, starting Keener League Baseball tonight, where he's a manager. So we'll miss him this evening. And the guys' general consensus was that Gonzaga wins it all when it's all said and done. I believe that's coming up next Monday night, guys, the championship game after the Final Four this weekend on Saturday. Meanwhile, Dave, the Pirates are taking on the Twins right now. Last I heard, that game was, 1-4 or something, or 4-1. I don't know what the score is.
Still is. They're
still
in the
underway.
top of the seventh as we speak. And,
all right.
But it's good to see. I mean, McCutchen hit a big home run.
Yeah.
2-run homer in the first inning of the game here. And
his first of the spring.
It's to see any production out of McCutchen is a plus.
Yeah.
He had a horrible World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
I think he was hitting like 167, but he had 3 important hits. He went like 3 for 22 or whatever the heck.
Didn't we send like 3 guys to the World Baseball Classic? Wasn't it Polanco, Marte, and also McCutchen? Okay.
Yeah. And Harrison.
Oh, that's right, 4 guys. So Harrison was there too. Let's talk about that real quick and then get back to the Pirates. Hey, guys, were you excited about the World Baseball Classic, Dave, and then Jimmy, that we defeated? Who was it, Puerto Rico or Cuba, that we won in the – yeah. So was that exciting or what, to see that kind of baseball? I think even the Major League Baseball was excited this year, Dave.
I thought it was a very competitive tournament. And you know why I think the USA did well? Because Jim Leland was the manager. That's why.
Yeah, I forgot.
That
the skipper was in the house.
Get the most out of a bunch of players.
Oh, man.
Better than anyone that I have seen over the course of time. I am privileged to have met him in Pittsburgh and been able to sit down and talk with him a little bit. Jim Leland's the reason why Team USA did as well as they did.
Jimmy, did you get a chance to watch any of that at all, the World Baseball Classic?
Just the highlights on ESPN. I don't get Major League Baseball Network down here in the country of Shoemakersville.
Yeah.
So,
well, I was wondering, Dave, I wonder if old Skip gets to take that trophy back and put it in his house. Somebody said the other day on SB Nation radio, well, if he's going to take it, I hope he wipes off all that smoke, because he's still smoking, apparently. And I thought he gave up smoking like 20 years ago after that first heart attack. So, I don't know. Apparently, he's still sneaking back in the dugout, dragging on a cigarette.
Comes and goes.
Oh, okay. That patch didn't work. Yeah.
No, I think, I don't know that Jim would get to keep that. I think that'll probably go to the, either up to Cooperstown or some other place that would be relevant to Team USA baseball.
Well, speaking of the Buccos, real quick, what do we got here as we get ready to open up the season here in the next week or so?
Garrett Cole's going to be your starting pitcher on opening day, so that's a big plus. He's been there looking good so far in the spring. Ivan Nova just had a good outing here against the Minnesota Twins. They're starting pitching, although the number 5 position still not determined.
Still open.
That's where this team is going to rise or fall, is going to be based on what their pitching staff does. Yeah. And that's going to include the bullpen as well.
Anybody new on that team that we should be keeping our eye on? Maybe somebody they brought up that we're not really aware of that might start in Pittsburgh?
Josh Bell is somebody that was up last year. He did well. He's not doing as well offensively here in spring training. He did have an operation and what have you. And so, it's been him getting back to that. Hopefully he's a little more secure down at first base,
right?
A little more confident in playing that position, and that'll get him more time. And I think the Pirates have to use him and convince him not to try to be a switch hitter anymore and just stick with the left side of the plate. Whether they want to do that through platooning or if they want to do that through just saying, Josh, don't hit from the right side anymore.
Hey, let's talk about
anything to his game.
Let's talk about some of those guys. Meadows was sent down today back to the minors, but he is one of their prospects, obviously, that the Pirates are pretty high on. One of the guys that actually, if they need him, I guess they can bring him up sometime in July. But again, Austin Meadows reassigned to the minors. They think that the kid's going to be pretty decent, Dave. What do you know about him?
He's in spring training this year. I mean, I didn't see every game he did. It's tough to see Pirates
you can't see them all.
Games.
Right.
And
they play those split squads, too.
Yeah, the bottom line is, I mean, he had a couple of shaky plays in the outfield that he didn't do too well on. And he had, some off games at the plate. I think overall, though, that, as he continues to gain experience in the minors, that he's going to be one of those guys where when they come to that decision-making point,
right.
Be it any of the guys in the outfield, right now the guy at the top of the list who may not be a Pirate much longer is Andrew McCutchen.
Oh, okay.
Is Meadows the guy to replace him at some point? Could be. It could very well be.
All right. What surprised you, Jimmy, and what do you look forward to this Pirates season, even though you're down around the Philadelphia Phillies? I'm sure you'll be able to tune in from time to time and watch these guys.
Oh, yeah. Adam Frazier, man.
Yeah.
Guy does not strike out.
Yeah, wow. He's hitting what, in the low 420s?
He's hitting 392 this spring.
Wow, okay.
392.
Wow, so he's a guy that we got to keep our eye
Frazier,
on. Adam Frazier.
He's slated to be like the backup to McCutchen in right field.
Okay.
He's back, and the other guy is, even though he's a veteran of many years, David Freese, because everybody thought Jong Ho Gong was going to be the man at third. He's now back in North Korea or South Korea.
He can't even get back into our country. Yeah, he's done here. I don't think he's coming back.
He's gone. So David Freese has he'll be a reliable bat. And he's a really good fielder. But the guy to keep a look at is the shortstop position is Jody Mercer.
Oh yeah, we talked a little bit about Mercer last week. What is it that compels you to think that he'll have a superb season, Jimmy? Because I know we've talked about him a couple of weeks now, and his name just keeps coming up.
Veteran leadership in that just veteran leadership, because he's been there before. He knows that position. You look at Josh Harrison. This is his second year playing.
Yeah.
Second base.
Full time. Yep. That's second
full time.
Base. Yeah.
Because whenever they brought Harrison up to the Pirates, he was all over the field, outfield,
infield, they use utility.
Field.
Yeah, he was a utility guy. So yeah.
Mercer is the key log in that infield. Without Mercer, I don't think that infield would do anything. And in the outfield, with McCutchen there, with Marte there, with Polanco there, we do have the best outfield in Major League Baseball. So if we keep our outfielders healthy,
right,
we keep Jody Mercer as like the leader in the clubhouse, we're good to go. But the one thing that I look at is pitching. And I'm not saying our starting pitching.
Yeah.
We're talking about our relief pitching.
Let's look at some of those guys. Jared Hughes, maybe. Oh, who else do you have? Tony Watson.
Watson.
Yeah. So who do you think, Dave? Who's going to be number 5, though? That's my interest. Who are the candidates to be that 5th starter? Because that's going to be pivotal. That's going to be key.
Go
ahead, Dave.
Hutchinson's one of the guys. He's put up some really nice stats here in spring training.
Yeah.
176 WHIP. The batting average against.
Mm-hmm.
He has one of the lowest ones. It's 329, but it's still,
Oh, yeah.
It's spring training. So those kinds of stats aren't necessarily, exactly what you necessarily key in on. But Glass now is somebody that's still in the discussion. And I saw him play pitch one game, and I thought he really had a good game.
Oh yeah, I think he was only in for 3 innings, though, right?
Yeah, he is the leader, though, in strikeouts in the spring for the Pirates this season with 23.
Right.
He struck out 23, so he's got that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, when you got somebody that's got that kind of stuff, you tend to want to stick with them. So we'll see exactly what the final decisions are when they break camp, and head to Montreal.
I think they're breaking camp.
They go to play in Montreal. How about that?
They breaking this weekend and heading up next week for the opening pitch, or is that like the second week of April? I don't have my schedule here.
They actually go sooner here. Let
probably
me see when they play.
Probably over the weekend or maybe Monday. But anyhow, we'll be watching.
Game is April 7th.
That's 7th at home, but he's talking about going up to Montreal.
They actually start at Boston.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah, they start at Boston on Monday the 3rd.
That'll be the 3rd.
And they have Tuesday off, and then they have games Wednesday and Thursday at Boston.
Okay.
And they have that game at Montreal on Saturday when they take on the Blue Jays.
Okay. Well, we're looking forward to the.
That's not a regular season game. Their actual
exhibition
regular
or so.
season opener is on Monday the 3rd.
Okay, Monday the 3rd. That's coming up next Monday. We'll talk about that, of course, on Monday Night Sports Talk here on the airnetwork.net with Dave Shannon, Jimmy Ty, and yours truly, Greg Banks. Hey, guys, real quick, just news, and we'll do this fast and furiously. NFL news today, Las Vegas Raiders. How's that team sound? The Raiders are moving to Las Vegas in the next maybe 2 or 3 years. I just want to kind of get your, because the owners voted on it today at their annual meeting. Dave, okay, they're going to go to, Las Vegas. They've moved several times before, so it's not like this will be the first time the Raiders have ever moved. But if you are a Raiders fan and you're watching them out in L.A. now, and just so happens this season the ticket prices are going up, and they're leaving in 2 or 3 years, what happens, your season ticket holder? You want your money back, or the fact now they're going to go up on the prices, are you pretty pissed?
Well, I don't know when the exact departure time. I can tell you
2018-19. Yeah.
Okay, their final season in Oakland, I wouldn't go to a frickin' game. Screw them. Okay?
That's what I'm saying.
Now, I do like the way the team's been playing, and if you've been a Raiders fan over the course of time, you want to be a part of that, because I think Jack Del Rio is going to get that team
heading in the right direction.
To go a little bit further into the playoffs, each consecutive year.
Right.
But that final year when they're going to pack that thing up
I'm
and take
here.
it out of town,
yeah.
Screw you. I'm not going to any of your games.
And Jimmy, the way they got them to go to Las Vegas is kind of interesting that now if you go to Las Vegas, your hotel room each night will cost you an extra $1.50. Now, I don't know how many hotel rooms there are in Vegas, but there's got to be a crap load of them. And all that money, that $750 million worth, is going to building a new public stadium. Although the public's not really paying for it, they're going to get guys like you that go to Vegas, and whatever you do in Vegas stays in Vegas, except your money also stays there with you. What do you think?
Your money will be there as part of a stadium now, so it is going to stay in Vegas.
It is going to stay in Vegas. So
I gotta say, hey, I built that stadium. I put some of that money there.
There you go.
There you go. How's that working in Pittsburgh and other places that have public money? You know what I'm saying, where the public actually is being taxed for it. So this is kind of unique in that, it's like tourist attractions now in Pennsylvania. Everybody has that extra buck or two they put in their hotel room because it goes to the tourist marketing in your region. And I guess that's going to work in Las Vegas too, huh?
Yeah,
It's going to have to come down to the team, though. I think, if they're half decent, like Dave said, if Del Rio's still in the mix, I think he's going to make them very competitive. So I'm just kidding a little bit about who pays for the stadium. Just the folks that go to Vegas will actually pay for it.
Don't sell that short, Greg. That's become a big bone of contention. And if you
I know.
Around the Horn or some of the other shows now
right.
on ESPN, that is a big bone of contention. And a lot of the sports writers and sports reporters that talk about this are really down on cities that are using public funds to build stadiums.
Well, would you expect somebody that lives in Vegas to have to pay for that stadium? Seriously, why would you expect somebody, because people actually live there, and work there. I mean, and it's a community outside of the casinos. So why not charge the tourists to build that lovely attraction that they want to build?
Well, that should be part of it, but if it's going to also benefit, it ultimately benefits the people that
live there,
in Las Vegas and live there.
Yeah.
So, maybe, I don't know how you want to look at it.
I look at it like
ideally, Greg, if you want to have a franchise in a market, build your own freaking stadium.
Yeah, I'm thinking be like Jerry Jones, use your own money. It's sort of like Donald Trump. You want to build a wall, use your own money. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I could see Las Vegas getting another. We got the Knights or the Black Knights or the Golden Knights, whatever Knights they are.
That hockey team.
The Vegas Knights.
Yeah.
We got the Vegas Raiders.
Although that name is
playing in the T-Mobile Arena, which is a beautiful arena, by the way.
Right.
Looking at pictures of that, I can see the National Basketball Association dipping in to the Vegas.
Oh yeah,
sports for on.
Everybody wants to get into Vegas somehow or other.
Vegas right now.
Hey,
Vegas is going to be the hotbed of pro sport.
Right. Hey, well, listen, you just mentioned something, and I'll let it go. You mentioned the Black Knights. They can't use that name. It's already trademarked by the U.S. Army. Dave, how are you, the NHL, one of the biggest machines in the world as we know it, and your people didn't figure that out, that the name was trademarked all along?
I have no idea.
Man, I mean, you would think somebody got past somebody.
Well, it got past a lot of people. First off, it had to get past a legal department.
Yeah.
So whoever's retaining the legal department for that franchise, I would assume it was the franchise.
Yeah.
I would have walked in and I said, "You're done.
Yeah.
You're done. How could you let us make this mistake? You're done. Gone.
You're
See
using
you, bye."
Yeah, and obviously the U.S. government has already trademarked that for the U.S. Army. So I just want to throw that out. Speaking of hockey, let's get to the Penguins real quick and then Penn State. Dave, Penguins, they've been suffering some losses recently. I know it's all for naught, but it's getting tight there. I'm seeing the Capitals and then Columbus and then Pittsburgh. I know they're going to be there in the end. What has to happen? I know they got to bring back some of these guys healthy, man.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue that's going on. I think the young guys are getting a little tired. I mean, the minor league season is always shorter than what the NHL season is. And so, you got guys playing past when they might normally be playing in the minor leagues. And a lot of the guys on the team right now are minor league players. And I think they're tired. I think that's what you're seeing with Murray, too. A lot of people don't realize Matt Murray, this is his first full season NFL or NHL season.
I agree. Yeah.
And I think Matt Murray is actually tired at this particular point in time. So he's been having a rough go of it as well. So you've got that you're fighting, and you've got all the injuries that are going on for the Penguins right now. And boy, it's tough to watch. And I'll tell you, the one thing that I don't want to see him get into, because it would appear as though they're going to end up playing the Blue Jackets, and I want them to have home ice advantage against the Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if you don't get these guys back that have been out for so long, you get them back and at least let them play 2 or 3 games together.
To get in shape.
It's going to be a pretty awkward postseason because they haven't played together as a team for such a long period of time.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought, but here again, Coach Sullivan was just saying on television this evening, hey, we have the guys that we're using now, and we're hoping to get the guys healthy who are out. But, it's a long season, as he said. And, sometimes we don't think about it. Like you said, these minor leaguers that are up and doing a tremendous job, they just may not have the legs. But last night, Dave, I saw something, and you can speak to this. Then we'll move on. About 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game. There's an empty net for the Penguins. And the team, and I'm trying to think who they played last night, they come down and score.
Flyers.
Yeah, they come down and score without any problem whatsoever. And I know that happens in the NHL where we pull our goalies from time to time, but is 2.5 minutes early, or is that just about right?
No, that was good because of the score at the time. They were down by 2 goals.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Normally you look at a goalie pull, and that comes at the, somewhere definitely under 2 minutes, and generally under a minute. A minute and a half is when you start to see it actually start to happen.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what goes on there. So it wasn't a total surprise that they did that. It was just a pain in the butt that the Flyers did score.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the one thing, geez, and I can't remember the guy's name now. He's the one African American player on
Simone or Simon or whatever his name is, Simeon for Philadelphia. You mean? Jimmy, what's that guy's name? Simone, Simone, Simone. I think his name is. Yeah, he's been down there for years for Philadelphia. Great player, too, by the way.
Yeah, and he clocked Brian Dumoulin, and I am sorry he stuck his frickin' elbow out and jammed it right into the jaw of Brian Dumoulin, who had a broken jaw already this season. No penalty called. No anything called. And boy, after hearing that idiot owner at Ottawa whining about what happened with Crosby. Crosby, chopped the stick of one of his players and broke, bones in his hand.
Yeah.
And he was calling Crosby nothing but a whiner and everything. What would he have said about that guy, Ron Simmons, from the Flyers?
Exactly.
What would he have said about Ron Simmons sticking his frickin' elbow out and right into the jaw of Brian Dumoulin? I'm sorry. I even though there wasn't a penalty called, Simmons should be fined for that.
Hey, real quick, Guy Godowski and Penn State Nittany Lion hockey team, real quick, got beat yesterday by Denver. They won't make it to the Frozen Four, but, man, that was a great season, Dave. I mean, they only have good things to look forward to in the years to come, correct?
Yeah, they made it to the Icy 8, so they did well. First appearance ever
and listen,
in the postseason.
They've only ever
win a game.
They've only been together for 5 years.
Yep.
Come on, man. That is a quick program. So best of luck and congratulations to Penn State hockey team for a fabulous season. That's going to wrap up this edition of Monday Night Sports Talk for Dave Shannon, Jimmy Ty, and maybe Chad States. It's Greg Banks saying thanks for listening. We'll do it again next Monday night from 7 to 8 p.m. live here on the airnetwork.net. Thank you, everybody. Good night, guys. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.